Every day at LawCLERK, we help attorneys all across the country find talented freelance lawyers to help power their firms. Whether you need help on a project basis or you need ongoing help via our subscription program, we can find the right talented freelance lawyer for you. Now, when you're going to start working with a freelance lawyer for the first time, there are definitely a few key questions you should ask, and I'm going to go over those with you today. Number one, what experience do you have? This should be one of the questions at the top of your list whenever you're considering working with a freelance lawyer. It's important to know whether a freelance lawyer has worked with a team before in the past and how they've performed. Similarly, it's also helpful to know how long they've been freelancing and how they perform in a freelance type working relationship. And yes, you may have read all about their experience on their resume, but there's really something extra that comes out when you have a discussion about the experience. It will give you deeper insight into who they are as a freelancer and how they will perform on your team. A few green flags to look for when hoping for positive responses to this question would be things like if the freelancer says, I have experience working as a freelancer and in the past on a team. Or maybe if the freelancer says, I have skills in specialized areas such as fill in the blank. Those are positive indicators of their experience and how they might perform with you. Now, a few red flags. You might want to proceed with caution if, in response to asking about the freelancer's experience, they say something along the lines of, I'm very new to working as a freelancer, or I haven't worked for any major companies before. Discussing the freelancer's experience is critical to making sure that you find the right freelancer for your needs and to make sure that this will be a successful working relationship for both of you. Number two, what is your current schedule? We all know that meeting deadlines is critical to the success of any attorney and law firm. That's why it's very important that you take time to discuss your freelancer's current schedule in evaluating if they'll be a good fit for your team. You need to find out, for example, whether or not they have their own solo firm and they're attending to their own clients' needs, or perhaps do they have a day job and they're only moonlighting as a freelancer, or are they a full-time freelancer? Regardless of their situation, asking about their current schedule will give you insight as to their current commitments and whether or not they may have tendencies to overcommit themselves. Here are a few green flags to look at when asking about the freelancer's current schedule. If the freelancer says something like, I follow a weekly schedule that I create around my clients, that's a good response. Or maybe they say something like, I'm busy enough, but I have some spare time in my schedule for extra work. That would show you that they might be a good fit for project work occasionally, piece by piece. On the flip side, some red flags to this question that might give you some pause would be if they say things like, my schedule is completely open. Well, why is your schedule completely open? I don't know very many attorneys whose schedules are completely open, so that might give you some pause. Or maybe they say, well, I'm kind of at capacity, but I can try to squeeze you in. You don't want to get squeezed in. You want to be a priority for them to make sure that they are doing their best work for you and your clients. Depending on your unique needs, the answers to these questions about the freelancer schedule will probably give you insight as to the best freelancer that you should hire depending on your needs. Number three, do you have any samples of your work? Writing samples are very important in evaluating different applicants to hire a freelance lawyer. Maybe you're a litigator and you need a freelancer to help write motions. Well, then you want to make sure that they are a concise and a persuasive writer with strong argumentative skills. Or maybe you're a transactional attorney and you want to make sure that they have an impeccable eye to detail. Whatever your needs are, you should expect to receive writing samples upon request from any freelance lawyer. So there's really only one green flag in response to the question, do you have any writing samples? When you pose that to a freelancer, they should pretty much immediately respond, yes, here's my portfolio. If they don't, then you might question whether they are really a dedicated freelancer and if they're the right fit for you. So red flags would be, well, I don't have any samples at this time, but I'll get back to you. Or, maybe here's some of my work, but it's from a long time ago, and so it isn't my best. Those would both give me some pause and would be a good indicator that maybe that's not the right freelancer for this particular job. Be cautious about any freelancers who don't have a portfolio of writing samples immediately available to give to you upon request. Number four, why do you freelance? Taking the time to ask a lawyer why they choose to do freelance work can be very insightful to who they are, how they work, what their priorities are, and how they might fit into your team. When you ask someone about why they freelance, a green flag showing that that's a good response, it might be something like, I freelance because it fits my lifestyle and my working capabilities. Or maybe a response like, I've been freelancing for a long time and I find that I'm very comfortable in this role and supporting myself as a freelancer. Those are both indicators that these are skilled, experienced freelancers who know how to do good work for other attorneys and will do good work for you as well. Now, on the flip side, a few red flags to watch out for. If they answer, well, I don't know why I freelance. Well, that's not a very comforting answer. Or maybe they say something along the lines of, well, I just started freelancing because I wanted to try something new. Don't write off a candidate just because they're new to freelancing. Be sure to take a holistic look at the candidate and the pros and cons of how they may or may not be the best fit for your firm's needs. Number 5, what is your ideal working relationship? When you're considering bringing a freelance lawyer on board as part of your team, it's vital to build a positive working relationship. And one of the best ways to achieve that is to ask questions at the interview phase about what they're looking for in their ideal working relationship and what they can expect from you. When you're discussing the working relationship with the freelancer, it's important to ask questions that will provide you with a sense of how they will work individually and how they'll also work with your existing team. Some green flags to look out for when you ask the question about the freelancer's ideal working relationship would include answers like, it's important to me to have timely and efficient communication, or I like a working relationship that feels honest and comfortable. Now, on the converse, some red flags to watch out for and avoid would be answers like, I like independent work over collaboration. That might be a good sign that you've got a loaner that's going to do their own thing and may not follow your instructions to a T. You might also look out for answers along the lines of, well, when it comes to freelance work, as long as it's providing cash flow, it doesn't matter what the relationship's like. It's important that you have someone that cares about your goals, your clients as much as you do, or at least almost as much as you do. So a flippant answer like that might be a big turnoff that would prevent you from hiring that freelancer. Being on the same page about your ideal working relationship with a freelance lawyer is critical to paving the path to success and hopefully avoiding any future problems. Number 6, can you tell me about your current client relationships? Asking a question about the freelancer's current client relationships allows for a more thorough understanding of their experience and work schedule. Now, certainly by asking about current clients, you're not asking them to break any confidences. You just want to get a general idea of their workflow, what types of clients they're working with, and how demanding those clients might be. You may want to ask questions to find out if they have direct clients of their own for whom they are representing and providing legal services. Maybe they're a solo attorney and supplementing their income with freelance work. Or maybe they only do freelance work for other attorneys, so their clients are really other attorneys like you. Whatever the situation is, these types of probing questions will better help you understand the freelancer and how they could or they could not fit into your team. So when asking about the freelancer's current client relationships, some green flags to look for would be answers like, I have a positive and professional relationship with my current clients. Or perhaps an answer like, we have great communication and we've really established a solid routine to keep us on track. Those are good indicators that they know how to communicate and collaborate and work well with others. And of course, we have a few red flags to look out for too when looking at the freelancer's relationship with clients. If they say things along the lines of, well, we don't really communicate much, or I really prefer to work autonomously, those might, again, give you some pause about choosing that candidate. If you are passionate about growing your firm, building your business, and helping your clients, then it's important to ask these questions about your freelancers' working relationships with their existing clients to make sure you're finding the right candidate whom you can trust and with whom you can build a strong working relationship. Number 7, how do you like to communicate? Communication is one of the fundamental driving forces for success in any business. And if you decide to hire a freelance lawyer, then you have to establish clear lines of communication, especially considering that they may be working remotely and they may be in a different time zone. And all of these different factors can present hurdles, but if you establish clear lines of communication up front, you can avoid potential problems. It's also a good idea to ask questions to help you get an idea of how responsive the freelancer is. Questions about, what type of communication do they prefer? How often do they check Slack messages or emails, or do they prefer the phone call? All of these questions are really key to building a solid working foundation. Now, when you're asking about communication, Some green flags to watch for with answers would include answers along the lines of, I like having an instant messaging platform so we can easily communicate throughout the day. Or maybe an answer along the lines of, well, I really like to schedule regular weekly check-ins to touch base on the status of what I'm working on and get an idea for upcoming work that you may need help with. These are fantastic indicators that you have a solid communicator who can do fantastic freelance work for you, and these are definitely the type of answers that you want to this question about communication. Of course, a few red flags to be aware of would be, well, I just leave communication up to the client, so tell me what you want. No, that's not the attitude that you want, and you really want to work together with communication because it's a two-way street. Another red flag to look out for would be an answer along the lines of, well, whatever works, as long as I get the work done, it's all good. Again, this is kind of flump it and doesn't show that they're very professional when it comes to managing communications and getting their work done. Number 8, what are your usual working hours? One of the greatest benefits about charting your own career as a freelance lawyer is that you can work anywhere, anytime, whatever works around your schedule. But we all know that the business of law is not an 8-to-5 profession and that things come up, and from time to time you need help outside of normal business hours. And so this is why when you are considering different freelance lawyer applicants, it's important to get an idea of what their usual working hours are and factor in things about time zones and communication channels to make sure that you find the best candidate. Depending on if you're doing project-based work or you're opting into our subscription program, you and your freelancer may need to be online during some of the same hours during the day to collaborate and work together. And if this is important to you, then you need to kind of compare schedules to see if it's going to be a fit before you even get started. When it comes to asking about the freelancer's usual working hours, some green flags would be answers like if they provide you a chart and they say, these are my normal hours barring unforeseen emergencies or things that come up, fantastic. It's great to have a handy chart to know when they are typically online. Another great answer would be, well, I am flexible and I can accommodate your needs and preferred days and times to be available for work. Another great answer. Of course, on the flip side, red flags to steer clear of would be any answers along the lines of, I work on my own schedule. You need someone who can be flexible with you because, again, the business of law is constantly changing and there can be new challenges that come up at a moment's notice and you might need help. Now, when it comes to usual working hours, of course, be clear and let the freelancer know that you don't really expect them to work 24/7. Unless you do, in which case maybe you need a few freelancers to help staff those needs. But knowing each other's usual working hours can help facilitate productivity, efficient work, communication, all of the things that lead to a successful working relationship with a freelance lawyer. Okay, now that you've learned a few key questions to ask any freelance lawyer when you're getting ready to hire them for some help, I hope that you will come visit us at LAWCLERK.legal and get the help that you need to power your firm. Whether, like I said, that's a project-based work or if you need ongoing help with a subscription, we have the kind of help that you need in very flexible, affordable ways to power your firm. So visit us at LAWCLERK.legal and get started today.